Hey guys, welcome to Twin Flame Truth TV. I'm Elle Hari, Twin Flame in Ascension, alchemist, writer, teacher, and coach. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about fear, and in particular, how fear is a double-edged sword. But before we get into all of that, I'd like to remind you that we are here to help you along your twin flame journey. That's what we do better than anyone. And you can talk to one of our coaches for free right now. The link is in the description of this video. So simply just click it, schedule your call, and you can speak with a coach for free to see what you can do to help advance along your twin flame journey as quickly, simply, and painlessly as possible. And if you are a good fit to work with us in our hugely accessible Magnetize Your Twin Flame Coaching Program. Okay, so back to the topic. Fear, the double-edged sword. So what do I mean by that? Well, here's the thing. Fear always has two sides to it, right? And that's because that's what fear is. Fear is opposites and duality and separation. That is the entire energetic paradigm of the third dimension, of this 3D physical world, is opposites and duality and polarity, which appears physically as separation. And so that's exactly actually the whole thing behind twin flames. Why you are and everyone is and has a twin flame is because in order for your soul to incarnate here into physical form, it needed to assimilate into that energetic paradigm of the third dimension, which is one of opposites and duality and separation, right? And it's all an illusion because obviously, nothing is ever separate. Everything is connected by a matrix of energy that we just can't experience usually with our physical senses. But nothing is really ever separate, and that includes you and your twin flame. However, your soul needed to incarnate here and assimilate into the duality and opposites of this physical world. And your soul is energy, and in energetic terms, that translates into polarity. So your soul had to make two opposite polarities of itself, one in your physical body and one in the physical body of your twin flame. And when those become activated, soul recognition, that's what we refer to as the push-pull fear-based energy, right? The one polarity is a push, the other polarity is the pull, but it's the same exact energy, and it manifests physically as a push-pull type of physical relating dynamic. But so let's just talk about that fear and how it's a double-edged sword. So we can see this really plainly right now with what's going on even outside of the twin flame journey. A great example of this is what's been going on with this whole coronavirus and COVID pandemic. You have people who are very scared and fearful of catching the virus, right? They don't want to go anywhere or interact with people. They want to, make sure they do everything, put on all sorts of equipment and masks and everything to make sure that they don't get the virus. They don't want to go out in public places. They don't want to socialize with people. And they have that's a fear of getting the virus, right? We're not going to debate and argue if it's, a legitimate one or how right they are or wrong they are, or anything like that. There's no judgment here. It's just that's a fear that many people have. But then there's the other side of fear of this pandemic and this virus, right? And that is the people that are scared and are fearful to isolate and be alone anymore. And so they are running out and actually, in some instances, putting their life in danger and possibly exposing themselves to this virus, which could be very deadly, in an effort because they're too fearful to be with themselves. And so that fear comes from a fear of, being alone, of loneliness, of boredom. And that all stems from a lack of self-love, which is fear, right? Because love and fear cannot coexist. So you have two opposite ends of the fear surrounding this pandemic, for example. One edge of the sword is the people who are scared of catching the virus and will avoid that at all costs. The other end of the fear is the ones that are scared of catching the virus anymore. They're scared of being alone, and they can't handle that anymore. So we have the two opposite ends, the double-edged sword of this fear, right? And that just shows how fear is. Fear is, it always has an opposite. There's always one side of fear and then the other side of fear. And this also plays out, of course, regarding the twin flame and twin flame journey. So, most of our students, when they come to us, and most people when they start this journey, their fear is that they have lost their twin flame, right? They're not with their twin flame, they can't imagine life without their twin flame. They're fearful that their twin flame never really loved them, or their twin flame is gone for good, or twin flame has moved on with someone else, or whatever it is, right? They have this fear that they are not with their twin flame anymore. And that's a very real fear for them starting this journey, right? But there's an opposite fear to that, because every fear does have its opposite fear. And so that the other opposite fear of that is that, you know, and this happens a lot to my students, is that then they go into this fear that they really don't want to hear from their twin flame. They don't want to magnetize their twin flame in on a certain level, because they don't want to go places where their twin flame could be and they could run into them, because they are scared of going back into that hole, of going back into feeling like crap and being heartbroken and shattered again, right? But that's still a fear. Just like it's a fear that they're originally, when they started this journey, that they lost their twin flame. Then as they balance out that fear, there's the other fear there that, oh, they're good. They don't want to even, interact with their twin flame anyway, because, they don't want to go back to that place where they were. Both are fear. So do you see how it's like the double-edged sword? For every fear that you have and you can see, there is an opposite fear. And so when we transmute one fear, we always need to be cognizant and aware of the fact that there's an opposite fear there that we need to look at. And usually, a lot of times, the opposite fear is not very prevalent, right? There's one side of the fear is very prevalent, and that's the one that, you fear, and it's very, very strong within you. And you can see like, oh yeah, this is the fear I have right now. But the opposite fear is generally more subdued. It's overshadowed by the more predominant fear that you have, but it's still there, because fear must have an opposite, right? And regardless of which opposite or which side of the sword it is, it's still fear. And as long as fear is there cannot be love, because love and fear cannot coexist. So love is fearless, right? So what happens is, many people think that I'm feeling balanced. I balanced out the fear. I no longer am stalking my twin flame. I no longer feel like I have to be with them. I'm not scared if they come back anymore. In fact, I don't even care if they come back anymore. Well, that not caring if they come back anymore is probably the opposite side of that fear. And so it's really necessary to be able to recognize and become aware of the opposite fear of what you have regarding the twin flame journey, especially because, you could feel like you balanced out the main fears that you see, but there's always this sneaky other opposite fears that are there, and they are there, even if you don't feel them like fear, even if you can't recognize them right away, or they're not like, overtaking your thoughts obsessively like, other fear might have. But that doesn't mean they're not there. And as long as they're there, that means your fear-based push energy is there. And as long as that's there, it's still pushing in the background towards your twin flame, and the twin flame is still pulling away. So it's very important to be aware of these opposite fears. Every fear by nature is opposites, and it is duality. And that's why we refer to dealing with the fear as balance here, because it's not just you neutralize a fear one way. You don't just transmute the fear one way. We have to do it to the balance, to the middle. It's not all or nothing. It must be the balance, because there are two sides to every fear. And so the tricky part of this, of course, is that not all fears, even the more prevalent ones, do people even realize that they have them, because they're so caught up in them. And it's very hard when you're in your fear to see the forest for the trees, so to speak. You can't see when you're all in it. You just think that's you and that's who you are and you're it, right? But that's not it. That is your fear. That is your mind. And so it's very hard to see that when you're in the throes of it. And that's even for the prevalent ones. And then for the more subdued opposite sides of those fears, those are sometimes impossible for people to see, even when they aren't caught up in the throes of their fear anymore, because they're just so sneaky. And that's where experienced coaches come in to help you see that. That's what I help my students do, is see and recognize all of those fears, because in order to fully balance their fear-based push energy, they have to address both sides of every fear, and they have to be able to address it. They have to be able to become aware and cognizant of it. So I just wanted to talk about that today, because every fear does have an opposite fear. It's just the way the paradigm works. And so, it's very important and necessary regarding the twin flame journey, especially to be aware of this and to see that, and then to be able to transmute that or alchemize that into love-based energy. And if you would like help doing this, again, we are here. We have coaches available to speak with you on a free call. And you can get a basic roadmap of what to do on your journey right here and now, and also see if you are a good fit for our Magnetize Your Twin Flame coaching program. And that's where you get the coaching, one-on-one, the personal coaching to help you see and transmute and alchemize all of your fear into love. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a great week, everyone, and lots of love.